Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss Merchant of Venice Act 3 Scene 2 by William Shakespeare. So students, in the previous class we have discussed that how Bassanio and Portia for the first time are having a conversation and how they are letting their hearts out by discussing what they feel for each other. Where Portia is very much nervous and also she tells openly to Bassanio that how much she likes him and how he is different from all the other princes who have come till now for the casket game. Portia personally wants Bassanio to stay for a while so that they could get to know each other well, and she wants to give time for their love to groom up. On the other hand, Bassanio was very much impatient and he wanted to play the casket game as soon as possible because inside his heart a fear was there about his own best friend, that is Antonio. So he wanted to perform the casket game as soon as possible so that he could help his friend in any way possible. And here, as Portia was not able to stop Bassanio from going to the casket room, she tells that let Bassanio go to the casket room, but beforehand she speaks of the consequences while the music is played before Bassanio enters the room. And what were the consequences? We have discussed, that is the swan-like end when a sad music is played or when Bassanio fails to choose the correct casket. Another one was the flourish of cornets when a new crowned monarch comes in front of the public. Then a dreaming bridegroom's marriage where this sweet music creeps into his ears and summons him to his marriage. So swan-like end was describing when if Bassanio loses the casket game, and the new crowned monarch and the dreaming bridegroom's marriage were references to the sweet music or the happy kind of music if Bassanio chooses the right casket. Okay, so we have discussed till there. So now let us go further in the scene. So now Portia says, now he goes with no less presence, but with much more love than young Alcides, when he did redeem the virgin tribute paid by howling Troy to the sea monster. I stand for sacrifice. The rest aloof are the Dardanian wives, with bleared visages, come forth to view the issue of the exploit. Go, Hercules, live thou, I live, with much more dismay. I view the fight than thou that makest the fray. So here, this is a very important reference from an examination point of view, and it is very important for us to understand this reference. So here, Portia says that now he goes. So here now, Bassanio goes with no less presence. So as he is very much handsome in appearance, and now he is not going alone, but what is there for supporting him, but with much more love. Okay, so now the love of Portia is also supporting him to win the casket game. Okay, and now she is telling than young Alcides. So she is comparing the situation, or she is comparing Bassanio with some person. And who is that person? That is young Alcides, when he did redeem the virgin tribute paid by the howling Troy to the sea monster. So now who is Alcides and why Portia is comparing Bassanio to him? Then who is the virgin tribute? Why the Troy was howling, and who is the sea monster? So there are various questions here. So let us just discuss first what is the background story of this. So let us see on the right hand side it is given that Alcides was Hercules, the famous grandson of Alcaeus. He was one of the great heroes of the Greeks, renowned for his strength and manliness. So, as he was the protagonist of the Greek mythological story, so Portia is comparing her situation to that story where Alcides, who was renowned for his strength and manliness, is compared to Bassanio according to Portia. And who was the virgin tribute, and what was the story here? You see, Trojans, the city of Troy, the people were considered to be Trojans. So Trojans were compelled by an oracle to sacrifice a virgin tribute to the sea monster. On one occasion, Hasten, the daughter of the Trojan king, fell upon to be the tribute. So here the virgin tribute Portia is talking about is none other than Hasten, who was the daughter of the Trojan king. And as she was unmarried, that is why she was called as the virgin tribute. So she fell upon to be in the tribute, and she was in danger from the sea monster. Then Alcides saved her on a condition of getting horses, which Trojan king's father got from Zeus. So Zeus is the king of gods according to the Greek mythology. Okay, he is also considered to be the king of law. So he successfully rescued her. So Alcides or Hercules was very much successful in rescuing Hasten from the sea monster. So this is the background story. So here the situation of Alcides and Hasten is compared to the situation of Portia and Bassanio. So as Alcides or Hercules was one person in the whole Troy who was that much courageous to save Hasten from the sea monster, here also Portia believes that only Bassanio is the person who can save Portia from the clutches of this casket game. Okay, and she is comparing herself to Hasten, who is a virgin tribute, and she is waiting for her Hercules to come, that is Bassanio, to save her life. Okay, and from the sea monster. So sea monster is compared to the caskets. Okay, so I stand for sacrifice. So here as Hasten was standing in sacrifice in front of the sea monster, here Portia is also standing for sacrifice, and the rest aloof. So she is telling, in this situation, the Dardanian wives are standing aside, looking onto the situation. So, in the Greek mythology or that Greek story, Dardanian wives were the Trojan women. Okay, the Trojan women who were crying out for help. That in the city, nobody is that much courageous to save Hasten from the sea monster. Likewise, here the people who are present in the casket room, all are thinking Bassanio to be the only man who is well enough strong to save Portia from the casket game, and he is the one who will be very much liable to become Portia's husband. Okay, so here as Dardanian wives were crying out for help, here also the audience was there who was crying out for help, that who could win the casket game. He is none other than Bassanio with bleared visages. So in the Greek story, these Dardanian women were teary-eyed. Okay, they were tear-stained faces were there of them. Okay, which showed their nervousness and anxiety of how to save Hasten from the sea monster. And here also she is comparing her situation, that she is in front of the casket game and only Bassanio is the only person who can save her from the exploit or from this dangerous situation. So at last she says, go Hercules. So she is comparing as Bassanio to Hercules. She says, go Hercules or go Bassanio. Live thou, I live. So if you live, then only I will live. Means if you are able to, or if you are successful to win the casket game, then only I'll be safe. Okay, or I'll be also successful, because they were very much in deep love for each other. I view the fight, then thou that makest the fray. So if you live, I live, and I view the fight with much more sadness than that are fighting. Okay, so you are the one who is fighting. Fray means fighting. So you are the one who is competing in the game. You are the one who will choose the correct casket. But more than you in this situation, I am very much nervous because my life is at stake, my future is at stake, and I want to live my rest of the life with you. And if the casket decision becomes wrong, then I'll be failing to be your wife or to love you anymore. Understood? So here you see I have written, and now he goes to the casket looking as noble as Hercules, but more loving when Hercules rescued the Trojan princess from the sea monster. I am like that princess awaiting death, and these people standing are like the Trojan wives looking on with teary eyes. So go, my Hercules, if you live, then I live. I am much more troubled here watching you than you are doing the deed. Portia tells Bassanio to go ahead and choose the casket. She says that if he lives, that is succeeds, she lives. If he fails, it is death to her. She watches the test with much more anxiety than he who has to perform it. Hope you have understood the first slide. Then she addresses Bassanio as Hercules because in her own opinion the similarity between Bassanio and Hercules is complete and perfect. But the only difference in the comparison is here Hercules fought for the horses, not for Hasten's love, but here Bassanio is fighting for Portia's love. Then a song. The whilst Bassanio comments on the caskets to himself. So here when Bassanio is making his way to the casket room, a song is played. Okay. So what is the song? And this song is very much important for you to understand. So let us see the song. What is the song? Tell me where is fancy bred, or in the heart, or in the head. How begot, how nourished. Tell me where our desires come from, the heart or the head. How do they start? How do they grow? It is engendered in the eyes, with gazing fed and fancy dies, in the cradle where it lies. Let us all ring fancy's knell. I'll begin it, ding dong bell. Okay, so again the stanza is repeated or the chorus sings at the back. So here let us first understand the meaning or the substance behind this song. So what is the meaning of it and why this song is considered to be very important, which also is a very strong point or it is a very strong support for Bassanio to win the casket. So what is so much important in this song which helps Bassanio to win the casket? So here you see from the first line it is telling, tell me where is fancy bred. So it is first saying that from where the fancy. So your fancy means infatuation. So tell me from where this infatuation or this temporary love is born. Okay. Or in the heart or in the head. So tell me from where this infatuation is born, whether it is in the heart or it is in the head, in which place it takes birth. How begot, how nourished. So what happens or what are the situations that supports this infatuation? Okay. What situations or what points which nourish or which nurture this infatuation? Tell me the answer of my questions. Then the answer is, how do they start? So another question also arises, how do they start? From where this infatuation starts and how does it grow? How it gets nourished or how it gets nurtured? So the answer of it is engendered in the eyes. So the answer is it is not born in heart, it is not born in head, but it is born in the eyes. And how it gets birth? It is written, with gazing fed and fancy dies in the cradle where it lies. So it is taking birth in the eyes itself and it deceives a person. Okay, it deceives a person and it dies in the eyes itself. So first of all, if you are infatuated, if you are getting attracted to a person, what happens? You are attracted or that crush which comes in your heart, it is through your eyes only. It is not a permanent love which is groomed first in your heart. If you are seeing a person without knowing his qualities or what he is good at or what he is bad at, so you are just focusing on the outward appearances. So basing upon the outward appearance, you try to judge that person from your eyes itself. So that is known as the crush or the infatuation regarding any person. So here also the situation is, or the song is like that, that it is engendered in the eyes. So it is taking birth in the eyes with gazing fed. Gazing fed means what is giving it food to nurture or nourish. The gazing means the continuous looking on or getting attracted to the outward appearance of a person. And the fancy dies in the cradle where it lies means from where the infatuation has born, from where this fancy has born, that is in the eyes, it dies also in the eyes itself. It dies in the cradle where it lies. So it does not reaches to the heart or head, but it takes birth in the eyes itself and it dies in the eyes itself, because the conclusion is it is very much temporary. It is not that much long lasting. The infatuation is for a short period of time and it takes birth in the eyes itself and it dies in the eye. So let us all ring fancy's knell. So here the song is trying to say that it is very short lived. It fades away almost as soon as it was born. So we should toll for the death of such swiftly passing love. So let us pray, or let us sing a sad song on in by ringing the bell in the church. Okay, so it is a warning. So this song is a warning not to judge by the eyes alone or by the outward appearance. Okay, so this is a very important song. Then Bassanio says, so Bassanio is now present in the casket room and he is in front of the three caskets, that is gold, silver and lead, and he is now telling, so may the outward shows be least themselves. The world is still deceived by ornament. In law, what plea so tainted and corrupt, but being seasoned with the gracious voice. So here, what happens, you see, when Bassanio comes to judge the caskets, he starts by saying that in the world, many things are there which are judged by the outward appearances, and many less things are there which the people try to judge by the qualities. So till now in the world, this rule is very much dominating, that people start judging everything first by the outward appearance. The world is still deceived with ornament. Ornament means outward appearance. So here he gives first example to prove his point that everyone is deceived, or everyone is first making a judgment from the outward appearance. So first example which he gives is in case of a lawyer. So to prove that people deceive others is that of a lawyer. The first example is of a lawyer. He says that the possession of a pleasing voice and attractive presence in a lawyer will, in a lawsuit, entirely hide any appearance of wrong or falsity. Okay, wrong or falsity in the cause he pleads. The ornament of the voice, so the outward appearance or the melodious voice speaking of all the rules and regulation, gives a rotten and unsound plea the false appearance of a good one. So here what is happening? That if the lawyer is fighting for a wrong decision or for a wrong person who has committed a crime, then also he is trying to prove his point by redecorating or ornamentalizing his words so that he could attract the person who is judging to take a wrong decision which is going in support of his person of whom he is supporting. So Bassanio cites an example that people deceive others is that of a lawyer. He says that the possession of a pleasing voice, a person who can, by ornamentalizing his voice, he can change the decision of the judge. he can entirely hide in his lawsuit, in his appearance, all the wrong things and the wrong plea which he does in front of the people. So here it is an example which shows that most of the people judge by the outward appearance of a lawyer, in which he entirely hides all the negative things which he tries to cover with his gracious voice. Okay, so hope you have understood. So this ornament of the voice, or this ornamentalizing speech which he gives, it is actually a rotten and an unsound plea which is not correct, or it is not ethical, because it is covered by a false appearance. Okay, so this is the first example. Then second example he gives: obscures the show of evil in religion, what damned error, but some sober brow will bless it and approve it with a text, hiding the grossness with fair ornament. There is no vice so simple, but assumes some mark of virtue on his outward parts. So in the first example, he gave an example of a lawyer, and now he is giving an example how deceptive a religion is. So what deception happens in a religion? This is his second example. So he says that the greatest heresies in religion opinion can be glossed over if some reverend looking preacher with sober countenance gives them his approval and makes them appear to be true and just. He gravely quotes scripture in support of them, hiding their vileness in the outward grab of fair and colored words. So he is trying to prove that the whatever are written in the scriptures to be correct by taking an outward appearance of a preacher and hiding the grossness with the fair ornament, hiding the grossness or the negative perspectives with fair outward appearances. So though what happens, though some wrong things he is trying to prove through the way of explaining the scriptures, here the outward appearances of virtue is diagonized, which is wrong. Okay, so with a sober outlook, or by proving himself to be a person with some religious things like a preacher, he tries to approve what makes them appear true and just, but in reality they are not that much correct. Okay, so there is no why so simple. So there is no deed so simple, but assumes some mark of virtue on his outward parts. So everything in the world is judged first by the outward appearance, and we cannot help it, because from the very beginning it has been a rule to follow or to get attracted by the outward things. Okay, so this is the second example. So every mistake has some appearance of right at some time or the other. Nobody judges basing 100% on the qualities, but now or then there is some change in their decision based on the outward appearance, or how things like to seem from the outside. It is the second step that you go inside and analyze a more, or change your perspective depending on what is deep inside the case. But beforehand, you make an assumption by seeing the outer appearance. Then he says, how many cowards whose hearts are all as false as stairs of sand wear yet upon their chins the beards of Hercules and frowning Mars, who inward searched have livers white as milk, and these assume but Valor's excrement to render them redoubted. So here it is also a very important example for you to analyze. Here, first of all, we should know who is Hercules and who is Mars. So, Hercules and Mars were known for strength, manliness, and courage. Okay, so they are very much courageous person who were very much war kind of men, and who always believed in strength. And this Elizabethans believed that these are two primary examples when the condition seemed to be explaining about courage or about manliness, or how a man should be judged, or how a man should be called courageous when they are fulfilling all the examples or fulfilling all the points related to Hercules and Mars. So Mars is also known as god of war. So he was that much courageous, and he always stood upon so strong and manly that he was also considered as god of war. Okay, so here the example which Bassanio tries to cite is, how many cowards whose hearts are all as false as stare of sand, wear yet upon their chins the beard of Hercules and frowning Mars. So here you see he is citing an example of some cowards. Okay, so what is the meaning of coward? Who are not that much courageous, who get afraid of silly situations, or they don't have that much power to face or fight for their rights. So these kind of cowards who are there in the society, so their heart, the coward's heart, is compared to the stairs of sand. So stairs of sand, if a stair is made of sand, you know that is not that much strong, and it does not have that much of grip to hold on to the weight of a person. So when you just step onto that stair of sand, it destroys it, it destroys. And what happened? It proves that it is not that much strong, or not that much bearable for gripping that much of weight. So here coward's heart is compared to the stair of sand, and though they are coward, they try to hide their cowardness, or that coward quality, behind their chin. And what happened? To hide that, they grow mustache and they grow beard, because in the Elizabethan time the beard and the mustache were considered to be the sign of courage. Okay, those are very much serious kind of person, those are that much of courageous, or to look more manly or more mature in decision making, or to represent that manliness in the society, beard was very much an important factor. So these cowards, though from their heart they are not that much courageous, but from to fool a person from outside, they try to grow beard on their chin and behave as if they are Hercules and frowning Mars. So they try to compare themselves to Hercules and Mars from the outward appearance. But when in reality, when you judge their heart, they are extremely coward in nature. Who inward searched have livers white as milk. So in the Elizabethan time, it was believed that the liver symbolizes courage. Okay, a brave man's liver was red with blood, whereas cowards were spoken of having white liver. Okay, so the coward were considered to have liver as white as milk, and the courageous man's liver was very much red with blood. Okay, so when inward searched of this coward men who tried to hide their cowardness with the beard, assuming themselves to be Hercules and Mars, when inwardly searched into their liver, they prove themselves very much having white liver, and which proves that they are coward. And these assume but Velor's excrement to render them redoubted. And these kind of persons make themselves seem, by this outward signs of growing beard and all, they seem to be acceptable in the society. But this false appearance does not last for long. At the end, people know their reality, and how they are that much of coward that they cannot face any situation. Understood? Then another example, look on beauty. Look on beauty, and you shall see it is purchased by the weight, which therein works a miracle in nature, making them lightest that wear most of it. So here this is one example. So here Bassanio is trying to say that how a false beauty is explained. Okay, so he is telling that the cosmetics which a woman wear, that can be bought by weight in the chemist's shop. So all the beauty products or the cosmetics which are available in the chemist shop that can be easily bought. Okay, so by wearing those cosmetic, they are appearing as very much beautiful girls or beautiful women. But it is just the outward appearance. For example, if a woman is not having good qualities, she is very much rude, she is very much always remains irritated. So what happens to her? Though she is outwardly beautiful, that beauty does not last long. But what lasts long? The quality of a person. So here Bassanio is trying to say that the women with natural appearance are the women who have good qualities and thereby weighing the heaviest, lightest in character. So the women who are wearing large amount of cosmetic or which is measured in the weight. So more weight in cosmetics is the girl who is lightest in character. So a girl who always focuses on the outward appearance, she is very much lightest in character or less in the moral education or in moral values. So he stresses on the woman who should have natural appearance because the heart is what matters and not the outward beauty. Okay. Then the next example is, so are those crisped, snaky golden locks which maketh such wanton gambols with the wind upon supposed fairness, often known to be the dowry of a second head, the skull that bred them in the sepulchre. So here he cites another example of false beauty, that is focusing on the false hair which women wear. So Bassanio says that shining golden locks of hair who who a girl or a woman who is wearing it is tossing that golden locks in the playful breeze. So when the wind is flowing, she tosses this curly golden locks into the air. So which is considered to be the false beauty of a woman because they are not real hair of her, but actually that hair is taken from where? It is a false hair and it belongs to a head of a woman who is lying in the grave. Understood? So she is wearing a wig kind of thing and that hair might be belonging to a woman who is in the grave. Okay, so it is not her actual hair. So sepulchre means here grave. Clear? So now this is the end of this class. Thank you.